He stood over the ball, hit it clean, and watched it find the water. Then he turned to his caddy and said 4 words that nobody expected. "Did you not think it was good?" If you've ever watched someone do everything right and still lose, this video is going to hit different. Stick around, because what happened next at Muirfield Village wasn't just one bad swing. It was the best golfer alive cracking, live, in front of millions, and the reason why says more about pressure than anything you've seen this year. Before we get into it, if you're new here, this channel breaks down the moments in golf that the highlight reels skip. The meltdowns, the silences, the stuff players say when the cameras catch them off guard. If that's your kind of thing, hit subscribe now, because honestly, this story right here might be one of the rawest you'll see all year, and I don't want you to miss what's coming after this one. Okay. Let's go back to Thursday, June the 4th, 2026. Muirfield Village Golf Club, Dublin, Ohio. The Memorial Tournament, a course that's chewed up legends before. Scottie Scheffler walks in as world number 1, the most dominant player on the planet, a man who in 2024 looked unbeatable, who'd already lifted majors at Quail Hollow and Royal Portrush. On paper, this was just another Thursday for the best player in the world. For 9 holes it looked that way too. Scheffler went out and played the front side at 2 under. Clean, composed, exactly what you'd expect. Then the back 9 started chipping away. A bogey on 10. Another on 14. Suddenly the round that looked effortless was sliding back to even par, and the pressure that had been sitting quietly under the surface all day was starting to show. Then came the 16th. A par 3. A tucked, dangerous pin. And what happened on that tee box is the reason we're all here. Scheffler flushed his iron shot. Caught it perfectly. The kind of strike that, 9 times out of 10, ends up safely on the green. But the wind did something cruel. It grabbed the ball coming in from the right, curved it more than anyone could have read, and dropped it straight into the water guarding the green. And that's when the cameras and the microphones caught something we almost never get to see from Scottie Scheffler: real, unfiltered frustration. He turned toward his caddy, Ted Scott, the man who's been on his bag through every major, every Players' Championship, every Tour Championship trophy, and he didn't hold back. "I never thought that I was in the water," he said, still walking. "I don't know what to do. I can't hear a word you're saying." Then, almost to himself, "I feel like that was a good shot. Now I'm in the water." By the time he reached the drop zone, it hadn't cooled off. If anything, it had built. He kept replaying the shot out loud, like he was trying to convince himself, or maybe convince his caddy, that he hadn't done anything wrong. He talked about flushing the 7-iron. About misreading the wind. About how unfair it felt to hit a shot that good and still end up punished for it. And this is the part that makes this whole moment so human. Scheffler wasn't angry because he hit a bad shot. He was angry because he didn't. That's a completely different kind of frustration, the kind that comes from doing everything technically right and still losing. Anyone who's worked hard at something and gotten an unfair result knows exactly that feeling in their chest. From the drop zone, he hit it to about 10 feet, 2-putted, and walked away with a double bogey. 2 shots gone, on a hole where he'd struck the ball as well as he could possibly strike it. On the broadcast, analyst Kurt Byram summed up what was happening perfectly. He said that sometimes being a good caddy isn't about reading greens, it's about being able to absorb the frustration your player throws at you in moments like this. Ted Scott has carried that bag for years. He's heard worse. He just kept walking, kept doing his job, and let his player vent. But the story didn't end at the green. Walking off 16, the conversation kept going. And it's around here that the moment the title of this video is built on actually happened. Scheffler, still replaying the shot, essentially challenged his caddy, and the world, to tell him the shot wasn't good. Did you not think it was good? It's not a question. It's a man defending his own instincts against a result that betrayed them. Here's why that single sentence matters more than people realize. Golf, more than almost any sport, separates effort from outcome. You can do the right thing and still fail. Scheffler's entire 2026 season had quietly been built around that exact tension. He started the year winning the American Express in Palm Springs. Then it became a string of near misses: 3rd at the Phoenix Open, 4th at Pebble Beach, a heartbreaking solo 2nd at the Masters after firing 65 and 68 on the weekend. Close. Brilliant golf, without the trophies to match it. So when he stood on 16 and lost a ball he believed deserved a different fate, it wasn't really about one hole. It was the accumulation of a season's worth of, almost, finally boiling over in front of a microphone that happened to be a little too close. And he didn't disappear into the meltdown either. That's the part that separates the greats from everyone else. He went out on the very next hole, the par 4 17th, and made birdie. Immediately. Like flipping a switch. He finished the day at +1, 6 shots back of the lead, not the round he wanted, but nowhere near the disaster it could have become after that explosion on 16. Afterward, in a calmer tone, he tried to explain what had actually gone through his head out there. He said he'd rather get gusted from the left than the right on that hole. He said it's brutally frustrating when you feel like you're hitting good shots, and they keep ending up in the drop zone instead of the fairway. He talked about how firm the greens were getting, how narrow the window was to actually hold certain pins, how the wind on holes like 11 and 12 was playing tricks on every player in the field, not just him. In other words, once the heat of the moment passed, Scheffler did what champions do. He didn't blame the caddy. He didn't blame bad luck publicly. He explained the conditions, owned the difficulty, and moved forward. But here's what makes this moment genuinely fascinating from the outside looking in. We almost never see Scottie Scheffler crack. This is a man known across the entire turf for being almost unnervingly calm. Faith and family first, golf second, that's the line he's repeated for years, the line that's made him one of the most respected players in the sport. And yet here he was, mic'd up, raw, frustrated, asking his own caddy to validate a shot that the result had already condemned. It's a reminder that even the most dominant athlete alive is still fighting the same internal battle the rest of us fight. The gap between what we know we did right, and what the world decides to reward us for. Scheffler hit a flush, committed, technically excellent golf shot, and the wind made it look like a mistake. That disconnect, between effort and outcome, is something every single person watching this has felt in some part of their own life. At work, in relationships, chasing something they believed they'd earned. That's why this clip traveled the way it did. It wasn't really about golf. It was about watching someone we consider untouchable get hit by the exact same unfairness the rest of us deal with every day, and watching how he responded to it. Vent. Walk it off. Birdie the next hole. Move on. If you actually sit with that sequence, there's a quiet lesson buried in there. The frustration was real. He didn't suppress it, didn't fake composure for the cameras. But he also didn't let it define the rest of his round. Bogey, double bogey meltdown, and then birdie. That's not luck. That's a mindset that's been built over years of learning how to compartmentalize disappointment fast enough that it doesn't cost you the next swing. And maybe that's the real story behind the headline. Did you not think it was good? Scheffler wasn't really asking his caddy. He was asking the golf course, the wind, the universe, the same question all of us ask when something we worked hard for gets taken away by forces completely outside our control. And like all of us, he didn't get an answer. He just had to play the next hole anyway. That's the story of Scottie Scheffler's dry response at the Memorial. A flush shot, a wind that wouldn't cooperate, a rare crack in the calmest exterior in golf, and a recovery that reminded everyone exactly why he's still the best player on the planet. If this kind of raw, behind-the-scenes sports storytelling is what you're into, subscribe, because there are more moments like this one coming, and you really don't want to miss the next breakdown. Drop a comment telling me what you'd have said in Scheffler's shoes standing on that tee box, watching a perfect shot disappear into the water. I read every single one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.